Spartans! What is your profession?
Yo, let's get back in this shit real quick. Go Deep, episode 58. This is part 2. I had to cut it in half yesterday because that shit was too long. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just put out part 2. It's gonna be less talking. It's just gonna be me, and then I'll drop in some videos. Let me put in some music also. Let's start it off with some music. I got a Brian Hume interview coming up. I got some more videos on AI, some CERN shit, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's just part 2 of Go Deep 58. Let's start it off with some music. Be right back. No, I lied. I ain't gonna be right back. We're gonna start it off with some music, and then I'm gonna go straight into the videos and the Brian interview because it's 58.5 and you're a bitch.
Niggas is feeble, I'm calm but violent like Ben Siegel. I'm anti-evil, plus I touch a desert eagle. My life's illegal, slaves in prisons are equal. The devil's lethal, he killed 100 million people. I'm Darkman, Iceman, La, Wu-Tang Clan, Traficante, Sensei, Caprende, my Marine Corps, straight from the Trojan War. Black Cape Crusader, trapdoor, flamethrower, stuck a chain store when I was dirt poor from Mobby War. Next week the Germans had me on the bulletin board. I beat that case, they couldn't identify my face. I'm triple darkness, silencer, I have you erased. Me and my Wu pirates start riots with Osiris. Math, I apply it, kill you, but I'm quiet. We respect the abbey. It's love or loss, shine like a shooting star. Sting with the cobra claw. What? New world order. 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 Yo, I enter through the cave of your ear in a high-pitched, silent tone only a door could hear, and impregnate you with the wisdom of the womb. Then your subconscious dreams come consciously true. Have you in such deep thought? Your pulse and blood pressure so low, you diagnosis corpse, having out-of-body experience. Clear, no interference. Everything with physical form lose appearance, become one with the formless. Now you feel your strongest. Escape travel lives you live for the longest. Love 1,000 years in a day. Without opening your mouth, you say everything you wanted to say. Attracted to the core of the earth, I stay grounded. The sun in the center of this, I'm surrounded by planets in the mist that spins the wind chill. But my light melts a snowflake from 93 mil. All who have an ear, let them hear as we build. Cause one ear of corn can produce a cornfield, and one cornfield can produce the cornmeal. The bread from the body of Christ, all is filled with the truth of life inside your bone marrow. You can make it physical as large as your shadow. Whether space is cyber or optic is fiber. Become a Wu multimedia subscriber and hibernate the root tape in your mental state. Let it meditate. Sit back then await the orders. For this you don't need no tape recorder. So let's prepare for the New World Order. 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 We coming soon and we striking at your borders. Word up, Wu-Tang up in this joint. Wu-Tang forever. Wu-Tang. 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 Wu-Tang forever. Word, Wu-Tang forever. Wu-Tang forever. The resurrection in your sector. From Shaolin to the holy city of Mecca. Yo, assassination, vaccinations, poor education, infatuation with Satan, world global nation, taxation, Bible optic, microscopic, biological germ, mad cow burger on the market, captain of your starship. I never departed once I started to explore these regions that was uncharted. Leave your heart broken. Yo, I stand tall like buildings on Van Dykes or Mikes. Beat strike like a noisy 4 train late night. Jace got New York feeling like we out of state. Can't smoke a bone in the staircase without getting chased. Penny candy poisonous rappers, best to chill or get your head gas. Lemon head, Sour Patch Kids, best to grab a lifesaver. I jailbreak ya, Boston bake ya, then plant my sunflower seed on every square acre. The beauty of my nature shown through Shaquasia, I Mecca. When I make myself equality known to my reflector. Stay in your playpen, boy, and battle for your formula and cries. You pacify this lullaby from the black butterfly.
Here comes the rain again, falling on your head like a tragedy. Falling on your head, causing new emotion.
Yo, I'm sure this metamorphosis as the king takes his office. Keep my planets in orbit, never forfeit or quit. Move forward, I talk with the awkward slang. I walk with the Wu-Tang Jam. Heavy thoughts can't be held down by the laws of gravity. Watch for the alarm in the temple trying to plot your tragedy. The game rank with the high officials at the banquet, but attempting to hijack the Wu-Tang manual under his blanket. Can't interpret cause your brain is short circuit. This dumbness led to body numbness. Try to come amongst us. What's your angle? Rectangle or triangle? As my toothless square drains you of your power, the death angel strangles you like a weed choking a helpless flower. You cower. You feel the power of the final shower. Word up, Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang. That's right, 97 February. Wu-Tang coming at you. Word up.
Hey guys, welcome to Contact in the Desert. This is Ben with the legendary Clyde Lewis, who hosts Ground Zero, the radio show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your radio show and what you do.
Well, the radio show started in 1995. We were starting about the same time as Coast to Coast AM. We were probably the first radio show, along with Coast to Coast, to be actually transmitted on the internet. And while Coast was national, we were local in Salt Lake City. We were on with Dreamland, and we were on with Jeff Rentz's Sighting Show, and so we had this whole block that we broadcast on the internet. And then from there, I moved to Portland, Oregon, where I kept Ground Zero going. We did a national show on the weekends, and then we moved it to local, and then we moved it back to national again. And now I'm 300 stations strong. I'm on before Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. And so we kind of have this relationship, he and I. I'm kind of his opening act, and he kind of ends the night for everybody.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what's some of the most crazy things that you've experienced or heard or?
Oh, everything from UFO sightings to being attacked by the ghost of the Zodiac Killer. Gosh, I could go down a whole list of crazy stuff that's happened to me. And you know, it comes with the program. It comes with the business. I mean, you mess in these areas, you're certainly going to be having a number of things happen to you that you're not going to be able to explain. I mean, I don't know how you tell your wife, "Oh, I'm out. And I'm going to go hunt down a bunch of ghosts and try not to bring anything home." You know, that's exactly what we do. So
Interesting. So you personally have seen a lot of this stuff as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been in several places. I've been to Roswell. I've been to I actually was in Groversville, New Jersey, back where Orson Welles first talked about the aliens landing in 1938. So not very many people can say they've been to Grover's Mill, but Grover's Mill is where the War of the Worlds started, fictionally. But it was nice to be able to go to the monument, pay some respects to Orson Welles, who I like to say that I'm kind of like Orson in the fact that I like to do theater of the mind on my program, and that's what I do. So
very cool, very cool. So I saw your panel the other day, discussion about AI technology and the quantum field and where things are going. I just wanted to kind of ask you from your perspective, based on what you heard and everything, with your understanding of the whole quantum computers and the AI and where this is going.
Yeah, well, it's going in a direction that I think a lot of people aren't aware that we are literally being controlled by the computers. The algorithms, of course, are controlling us. They're focusing on some of the more radical and extreme attitudes. I mean, when you think about racism, many people think that racism is out of control because of the Trump administration, when in reality, only 1% of the population of the United States would be probably in the realms of being racist or bigoted in a way. That's 1%, but yet we're hearing about it's everybody. 1% of one group believes that they're victimized here, they're victimized there. It's a currency. Victimization is a currency now, and it's because of the fact that the internet has created this social downfall. It's about, you should have a civil responsibility, a social responsibility, but we're letting the internet take over the social cohesion and the lack of social cohesion in this country and in the world. And so what goes on is the algorithms focus on the most extreme areas of the internet. It focuses on the racist comments by Roseanne. It focuses on the weird things the president tweets. It focuses on what some troll will say on your Facebook page, and that's why we're feeling ourselves dividing and dividing and dividing. But pretty soon you can't divide the substance to the point where it won't have a breaking point, and America will start to eat itself. And that's what I'm worried about, is that we need to take control of the algorithms and not have them control us.
So it was kind of interesting because the concept or the topic of CERN came up on the panel discussion.
Yeah.
And you were kind of relating it to something really interesting, and I thought you could just talk a little bit about that from your understanding, maybe what's going on.
Well, I was relating it to Stranger Things, and I think a lot of people don't know that Stranger Things was originally going to be called Montauk.
Montauk Project, I think it was.
Montauk Project, the idea of time travel, the idea of opening up a portal. In fact, Montauk is involved with the Philadelphia experiment. I hear the Philadelphia experiment being mentioned as well in the panel, and with good reason, because the Upside Down is basically a product of the Department of Energy in some fictional Indiana town in this thing. And they asked Ernest Moniz, who is actually the Secretary of Energy, they asked him on the Chelsea Handler program, they said, so what do you think of Stranger Things? And he says, well, it's not. He says, I haven't really seen it. A lot of it's fiction, but he says what it is in fiction is that we do play in different dimensions, and we do play in the Upside Down. And everybody, Don Cheadle was in the group and a bunch of others laughing uncomfortably, but then it got really awkward when he says, I'm telling the truth.
I will note that actually we do work in parallel universes.
Well,
Do you really?
is that
Yes.
I'm going to go home and drop some acid.
And so I decided to do a little bit more research, found out that people like Geordie Rose, for example, who is the head of the CEO of Kindred, the CEO of the D-Wave computers. D-Wave computers are being used at CERN, and he said with D-Wave and with Kindred computers, they are going to have the capability to bring through portals and Rosen bridges characters that he compared to what Lovecraft created. So I'm thinking, oh, so this is a lot like The Mist by Stephen King, where the Arrowhead Project went out of control and all these strange monsters came through. Something like Coming from the Abyss, or all these ugly creatures. So, we're messing with particle physics. We're messing with opening the Upside Down, and of course, we could have any kind of creature could come out, and like the Demogorgon. I'm not looking forward to shake hands with the Demogorgon, but hell,
I don't think I am.
Science wants to do it, then by all means, if they can take the Demogorgon and make it work for them, then by all means, yes. But until then, I don't want to have anything to do with the Demogorgon. That's for sure.
The edge of wonder.
Let's end it on kind of on a positive note. Do you think maybe if the more benevolent people got a hold of AI or trying to create this, using it in a benevolent form, do you think there could be some positive things out of this?
I'm thinking that it's not about benevolence or malevolence. It has a lot to do with the fact do the computers like us? If they don't like us, computers are amoral. They don't care. They'll see a reason to wipe us out. I think that's why we're seeing the division right now that we're seeing. It's not that the government's doing it, it's the algorithms that are doing it. We buy into the algorithms, the media buys into the algorithms, and so we're all basically saying, well, this person has viewpoints that I don't subscribe to, so therefore I'm not going to talk to him. It's because the computers have taught us how to do that. And if we learn that we're all people and we all have valuable things to put into the conversation, and don't let the computers rule us and tell us how to think, then I think then that's when we're going to beat it. But there really is no end-all be-all authority that's going to tell us this. In fact, I had a friend of mine who once told me, he said, if you're looking at all the tentacles from the octopus going into everything we do, what if you found out that the octopus didn't have a head? Wouldn't that scare you? Would it scare you to think that people are monsters and they're the ones doing it? Yes, it would. Well, we have to understand that people are monsters. They program these computers, and the computers mimic the monsters. So we need to be aware of the fact that we're creating a cyber Frankenstein with the algorithms.
That's a scary thought. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, and you've heard of the Mandela effect, I assume?
Yeah, well, the Mandela effect is another aspect of the algorithms, because what it is it basically exploits our collective scotoma, or our collective blind spot in our thinking. And so collective recall is damaged in the process.
Yeah, you know, like, so on the way here, I was freaking out when we were at the airport because I just noticed that the engines on the plane are in front of the wing instead of behind the wing.
Right.
And I've always sat behind the wing, and I could never see outside the window because the engine is in the way. And for the first time, I was looking outside the window, and I'm like, why can I see the ground? And I realized that the engine is in front of the wing, and I was just freaking out about it. So we checked everything to make sure, like, is this a Mandela effect, or is this just recently?
Right.
And it seems to actually be a Mandela effect. That it seems like from all the planes of photos that we were seeing, even from like in the 90s, the engine was in the front of the wing, and I was just freaking out about that. So
well, the other day someone turned me on to a Mandela effect. If you look up the word Calcutta, it's spelled with a K, not with a C. That's
weird.
It's Calcutta or something. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, how have I spelled it? C-A-L-C-U-T-T-A? And like Qatar is now Qatar. And I'm thinking, why is this all changing? It's because collective recall is being changed, the Mandela effect.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Clyde, thank you so much for talking. I appreciate it. Any last comments?
Always remember that we live in, we're learning that we're living in a matrix. And every once in a while, things get through the matrix and scare us. But we're in this overlapping multiverse. And when we realize we're part of this overlapping multiverse, things like the Mandela effect and other crazy deja vu experiences and synchronicities will all be more meaningful when you realize we're overlapping right now. And it's an amazing time to be alive.
Thank you. That's such a great way of looking at it. Thank you, Clyde. All right, you guys, thanks so much for Contact in the Desert. This is Ben and Clyde Lewis.
And we'll see you guys out on the edge.
The subject of my talk tonight is about something that is smarter than you are, artificial intelligence. In fact, a lot of people who work in artificial intelligence believe that artificial intelligence is 1,000 times smarter than we are. It will be moving at speeds that are 100,000 times as fast as we think, and it will be digesting information and data 1,000,000 times more than we can. What is artificial intelligence? There are a lot of confused ideas about this outside in the world. But the answer is very simple. It's one sentence. Artificial intelligence is software that writes itself. It writes its own updates. It renews itself. We normally tend to think of software as stuff that we created and that we wrote, and the machines do what we tell them to do, and we own it. This is not any longer true. It writes itself at speeds that we can hardly comprehend, and people who write it know that you can't take it apart again and figure out what it's done. It writes independently, autonomously. It develops its own way of thinking, and there are dangers associated with that. So a lot of people ask, when is it going to happen? When is artificial intelligence going to be smarter than us people? Some people say 50 years. Some say 30 years. Some say 5 years. I say it already has surpassed us in many areas of our society. Let's take, for example, some examples from right here and now, and I apparently have to point this. Okay. The examples that we're going to talk about are not science fiction. They're not visions. They aren't things that are going to happen at some point. They are things that exist today, for example, in the stock markets, whether Frankfurt or Tokyo or New York or London. The people you see down there working on your TV show and you're watching it, they're more or less extras in a movie. They aren't doing the big moving. The big moving is being done by high-frequency computers. They move so fast they make, in milliseconds, billion-dollar business. Computers have far succeeded what we can do. In fact, I did a film once about a company that moved 5 blocks closer to the Frankfurt stock market because at the speed of light on glass cable, they saved so much time getting closer to the computers at the Frankfurter Stock Exchange. That will give you an idea of how fast they think and how helpless we as human beings are. You may remember the old pictures of the stockbrokers with 5 telephones in each hand, running back and forth, writing things on paper. That was way before yesterday. Computers have taken over this very, very important part of our society, a heart of our financial community. And no one understands exactly how these algorithms function. They used to understand them, but they've been improved by artificial intelligence. I don't know how many people flew in today, but if you were sitting in an airplane, you probably had 30 different tariffs and prices in your cabin because the pricing is all done, same is true of hotels, by machines that are collecting global information, making decisions within split seconds what the price of that airplane seat or that hotel room is going to be. And where it's most critical of all, we're talking about life and death, is in medicine. Computers are better than we are as human beings in several areas already today. We're talking about here and now. This is not science fiction. I'm speaking next week at the Universitätsklinikum in Essen. And their radiologists, who are supposed to be some of the best radiologists in Germany, they say that a computer can recognize a tumor on an MT or on a CT, MRT or CT, faster and better and more precisely than a human being can. It's picture analysis, and it's done very well by computers, especially in medicine where it saves lives. Now, the robots are getting better and better. They're looking cute. They have these big baby eyes, the sweet way of looking at you. They can examine your facial expression and adjust theirs. But don't be fooled by robots, even when they get warm skin and even when they get perfume and they start smelling like us and getting really interesting, they are still machines. They have no warm blood in them. There's no sex in them. They have no mortality. They're cold code lines. And they shouldn't be misunderstood. Now, I want you to understand what the power of artificial intelligence is, and I have 2 examples. One is surveillance cameras. Everybody knows, that we're being watched by cameras everywhere, and most people think surveillance is a camera there, and it's me down here, and it's watching me. One person, one camera. Well, that's because we're stupid. That's the way we comprehend the surveillance, one camera, one person. We can't comprehend it when it goes beyond that.
This image was taken 17,500 feet above Quantico, Virginia, and covers 15 square miles.
This whole image is at a very, very fine resolution. So if we wanted to know what is going on in any spot along this image, say near this building at this intersection, everything that is a moving object is being automatically tracked. The color boxes represent that the computer has recognized the moving objects. You can see individuals crossing the street. You can see individuals walking in parking lots. There's actually enough resolution to be able to see the people waving their arms or walking around, what kind of clothes they wear.
Unlike the Predator camera that limits field of view, Argus melds together video from each of its 368 chips to create a 1.8 billion pixel video stream. This makes it possible to zoom in and still see tremendous detail.
And 1 million produces 1 million terabytes every day. That's a lot of data. And I'm telling you this because not that the sensors are modern and not that the photography is modern. Behind that is a brain or a cognitive intelligence. And that brain is in a position to analyze everybody down there. At the same time, in real time, they see where everyone is going. We can understand it when we reduce it to a single person, but we cannot understand it when you're talking about 100,000 people in a city, plus the vehicles, which are all recognized. Due to such systems, they have also redone facial recognition. You probably think facial recognition is from the front. But they've redone to do it from the top because that's where the drones are. And they look at your ears, they look at the way you walk, they look at your head. That's modern facial recognition. So that's one idea. As a human being, we think of one camera and one person. This is a little of their things, that it's taking all the details, all the music up to, and they record it so they can tell where that person was 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, what stores he visited, what his whole behavioral patterns are. That's all part of the analysis of Argus. These are called tennis balls in military and intelligence circles. It's a new secretive sensoric thing. A cruise missile will fly into a valley in Afghanistan, and this is especially important because the troops have left many of these areas, and it will drop literally thousands of these sensor packages, or these tennis balls. They're all packed in foam rubber. They record with cameras, they record with microphones, they record with seismic measurements, they record with Geiger counters, they record with chemical sensors that can look for chemical things. That's not the amazing part of it, and it's not the amazing part that they have a little signal that goes over here to the transmitter goes up to the satellite. Old technology, nothing special. But the special part of it is, behind that system, there's a fusion software that can combine the audio and the visual and the seismic and the chemical, all of these signals, and make sense of them and analyze on the ground what kind of troop movements they are, what are the kinds of vehicles they're using, what are they transporting, is there radioactivity in that? It takes all of these different pieces of information and turns it through fusion software into an understandable picture, which goes way beyond our vision. Artificial intelligence only works if you have huge data masses. Artificial intelligence only works if you have big data. But big data only works if you have artificial intelligence to make sense of it, because human beings can no longer sort and sift and order the huge volumes of data that we have collected. And thus it is not surprising that the company that has the most information in the world, it's probably the most powerful country in the world, Google, is very interested in artificial intelligence and has been traveling around the world as a shopping queen, buying all the companies that are dealing with robotics. This is one of their robots. This is called Atlas. And they're buying artificial intelligence, all the artificial intelligence companies from around the world. Now this is, if you ask Google, it's a peaceful robot, right? He doesn't have a gun. He doesn't throw atomic bombs. You know, he just walks around and stands there. But you may have seen the superimposers DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. That is the research arm of the Pentagon. And then you see the video was made by Lockheed Martin, which is one of the most powerful and influential and richest weapons companies in the world. So why is the Pentagon investing this money? Why has Lockheed Martin taken over large aspects of the company? This guy's called Big Dog. He also belongs to Google, also DARPA financed. Peaceful dog, right? Unless he gets caught on a maneuver of the United States Marines as part of a military unit. So these are not flower children. These are robots that have a function, and robots that have a function and an intelligence, and perhaps an intelligence that goes beyond us, are dangerous things. Now that's a Predator drone. It was taken at a secretive United States Air Force base in New Mexico. Predator drones you've seen, right? You've seen them on TV, you've seen them in the newspapers. They're old. They're 20 years old, the technology. This is, I mean, it looks very scary when the Spiegel and the ARD write modern technology and the guys in the joystick and killing people and Taliban and in Afghanistan far away. But that's what a modern drone looks like. This is not a Predator, this is a Pegasus. It's an X-47B. It's owned by the Navy. It's a jet-powered machine, not like a propeller-driven Predator. It goes 2,000 miles into enemy territory. It carries 2,000 kilos worth of explosives, and is run by artificial intelligence. It starts alone, flies its mission alone, comes back alone, and here's the clue, it lands all by itself on an aircraft carrier. Talk to any pilot you've ever met. What's the most difficult landing area you can possibly imagine? They say it's an aircraft carrier. Short runway, things moving, very hard. This thinking drone can do it. But here are the two keys to Pegasus. Pegasus is invisible. Now, I'm not talking about stealth and being invisible to radar. I'm talking about invisible to the human eye. And you won't find this in any newspaper anywhere. It's invisible to the human eye because the bottom has an LED layer on it, and the top has cameras, which have been removed here in the picture, which film the sky, and they project on the bottom a live picture of the clouds up above the aircraft, and you can hardly see it. And they're responsible for a lot of these UFO sightings in Nevada near the testing areas. Jet engine propulsion, a reach of, oops, this is in German, of 2,000 miles, start and landing all by itself. Stealth is optical stealth. You can't see it. And the kill decision, which is required by United States law to be made by human beings. Human beings must be in the loop before someone is killed by a drone, but it's in the machine. And it doesn't need people. It can decide by itself whether or not it kills somebody. And the experts say it's going to make less mistakes and less collateral damage than the human decisions. The kill decision in robots in the air, in robots on the ground, in robots in the water or underwater, where there are also drones, is made by, or can be made by machines. And in my book, I quote many official United States government documents which say, our goal is to have the kill decision made by them. The problem is, artificial intelligence, sometimes they make mistakes. This is Talon. He's an automatic cannon. I mean, they can, a lot of ammunition in that thing, and you can also put rockets on it. And it's in Iraq since 2007. At a demonstration with US generals and experts, the damn thing got out of control and started pointing at the audience. And there was a Marine there, thank goodness, running across the field who tackled it like a football player and threw it on its side and probably prevented a couple hundred people from being killed. Now, this wasn't reason enough to take a lucrative contract away from the company that built it, and it wasn't enough to take the Talon out of Iraq. It's just sort of off duty for the moment because, you know, there were some early stages of development, you know, that kind of problem. But don't underestimate artificial intelligence because it's getting better every day and it's going to scare us. And now I'm right at the right time where I say stop. Because I want to take a look now. This has all been here and now technology. Let's go to the future. Not far, just a little bit to the Internet of Things, to artificial intelligence as being spread out. It's not a central machine in a box where you can pull the plug. Artificial intelligence is networked like the Internet of Things. And part of it may be in a smart watch or a refrigerator or in a supercomputer. And the intelligence exists only by networking it together. If the supercomputer needs more computer power, it goes there and gets it out of the Internet. If the computer needs better programs, it goes there and gets those programs. And if it needs more information, more data, it goes there and gets more data. It sets up a spontaneous network for its needs, which collapses when it no longer needs it. It does this. It does this without us. And you have to imagine, like, there are these intelligence nodes all over the place. And they're like drops of mercury on a glass table. They will find their way to each other. They will find their way together. Now, we have to be very careful, because survival is an issue for artificial intelligence. It needs to exist to be able to do the things it wants to do according to its program. So it lays, like insect eggs, backups and computer programs all over the world, thousands and thousands of them, so that if we do destroy part of it, it's still alive. My job to you is the wake-up call to make you aware of the problem. Your job is to figure out how we're going to stop this before it kills us. Thank you.
All right, we're back in here. Go Deep, episode 58. I got my boy Brian Kume on. We're gonna continue 57, but it's not 57 and a half. We're gonna go with 58. We're still talking about CERN. We're still talking about Zack Snyder and some of the stuff he puts in the movie. But let me introduce Brian Kume, Blue Trek Brian Kume. Insert crowd noise. What's going on, man? How's everything?
Good. How about you?
Pretty good. So we're gonna go into CERN. We have, I know you know some about the Luciferian agenda, and you know some about like the complete 180 of, I guess, the good side of the Force, the dark side of the Force. Yeah, that's what
I follow you.
That's what we're dealing with. We're you know, of course, you know, they have a lot of projects going on at CERN, but I just want to kind of get you on the show and pick your brain to see what you thought about CERN and the Luciferian agenda and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Well, where do we want to start?
you dig in, bro, wherever you want to go.
Dig in? All right. Well, you can start with the Mandela effect.
Right.
You can even start with some of their ceremonies that they have, you know, opening up their gates or whatever, right. however you want to put that.
Right, definitely. So what he's saying, you mentioned the Mandela effect. We're kind of like, it's a matrix on the world with this high technology that kind of, I don't know whether it takes us to different timelines or whether it just confuses our brain. What do you think the Mandela effect is? Do you think we're going to a different timeline, or do you think they're just kind of tricking us?
I think it's like, I know that the colliders need to be run with quantum computing.
Right.
The way they have to sync up the magnets in order to run the particles near the speed of light, it needs to be calculated quantumly. And it's admitted that quantum computing takes place in another dimension.
Correct.
And that it pulls in from that dimension its computations, but there's also some transfer of energy when that happens.
Right.
And how that affects the timeline, I don't know. I always thought the Mandela effect was just kind of like a garbage conspiracy theory, you know?
Right.
But then, you know, you actually like hear it enough times and you actually look into it, and there's something to it.
Right, it is. There's some spooky shit when you research that Mandela effect, because I think I mentioned to you one day about the Star Wars, and I really thought he said, "Luke, I am your father." I didn't know. I was like, "Yo, am I crazy?" I was like, "Am I crazy? Did we go in another dimension, or?" But then,
did we? Right.
So, you know, that's what it kind of feels like with the timeline switch. And then you see Zack Snyder's movies, and he kind of shows that clearly in BVS, you know?
Yeah.
Did you see Endgame yet?
I haven't seen Endgame, no.
So I'm hearing a lot of people are telling me that Endgame is like a bunch of Zack Snyder's kind of watered down ideas put together. Well, you know,
I've definitely heard that too.
They say they have some like time travel. They have some, mentions of CERN or whatever. But like I said on this show earlier before I called you on, like Zack Snyder he shows how that is really going on in real life, Like, it doesn't look like a Disney movie with him. It looks like, this is actually some shit that could happen,
No, he definitely goes deep into the high technology and
right,
even the implications of it.
Right. So we got these Luciferians that's practicing the dark side of the Force. How does that intertwine in real life? Like, I know they're out, and I know they have unlimited funding. They pretty much they can do whatever they want. But what do they want to do with us, with the humans on Earth?
They wanna cull the herd, and then whatever's left, they want as slaves.
Right, I agree. And some of those people are probably working in Warner Brothers and did not want Zack Snyder to put that shit out.
I would agree with that.
Definitely. So now, this show was pretty much on about like resurrection. And we know, they can, say they go to the dark side of the Force, they find a spirit or they find an entity or energy that they need that is able to be brought back into the third dimension reality.
Yes.
And that's fact now, that's not like them conspiracy theory shit. They are able to bring energies back into the third dimension Earth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to look at it as a spiritual thing, I think that makes a lot of sense to overlay it.
Right.
You can even look at it scientifically, though. You're playing in other dimensions with different energies that you don't understand.
Right.
So however you want to frame it, I think there's a real danger in that. And I think there are those that serve that kind of energy.
Right. Do you think... So you know how people are always like, oh, Jesus is going to return and he's going to save the day. Do you think we have a save the day person? Like, is there a Superman or is there anything we can do about it?
I think it's an archetype.
Right.
I think, yes, it comes and goes in different people and you can see it and you recognize it when it happens.
Right.
But I think it's sort of something that lives in us as an archetype. And I think that's why we respond to these movies the way that we do, because we understand that archetype is something within us.
Correct.
Correct.
Now let me ask you about artificial intelligence. So now we have the AI robots that can be implanted with some of those entities that they found on the dark side of the Force. What do you think about AI? Is it anything to worry about, or people just worrying for no reason?
I think there's a real danger in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be unfounded, but at the same time, if it determines that its survival isn't dependent on us at all, and we don't serve it a purpose, then where does that leave us?
Right. I mean,
and if you look, even from the Zack Snyder lens that you have, I mean, we're talking the story, of Earth versus Apocalypse.
Right. Correct. So it's just like Star Wars, the dark side versus, the good side. Right. So I'm a firm believer that Zack Snyder is a Jedi. I'm a firm believer that he's not on the dark side, right?
I would agree with that wholeheartedly, yes.
Right. But it's, sometimes I kind of think it's too much dark side. Like, this place is out of balance. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, I mean, so check this out. Do you think there is... All right, so we saw on BVS, we saw how Lex Luthor, who's representative of the corporations, we saw how he was contacting the dark side, and he contacted Steppenwolf actually with technology, right? So once Steppenwolf was contacted, all hell broke loose, right?
Yep.
So you can hear kind of Stephen Hawking saying that in real life. You can hear, Elon Musk saying that, Sam Morris. A lot of people are saying that, but it feels like nobody's really, really paying attention to it. It's like, we're like 5 or 10 years away from this. And if we do it, some crazy shit can be contacted,
Definitely.
And nobody's really paying attention to it.
No.
That's what's crazy. That's what I said.
Yeah, and that's why I appreciate your show so much, because you're not afraid to say it, and you're not afraid to look into it.
Oh man, I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on, because a lot of times I feel like if you talk about this shit, nobody could understand you. But I can talk to you and I can say the craziest shit, and you're like, yep.
Right back at you.
Yeah, that's what's up. So where do we head? Where do you think we head in the next 10 years? Is there a way we can control this AI? Because I guess it's already on board. You got IBM with Watson. I'm sure Facebook and Google has an AI also. Do you see any foreseeable future that we can control this shit?
Well, I think it's like you said with like the light side, dark side thing. I think there are those that try to work towards the light or towards a greater good, that try to do the right thing.
Right.
I think if some of these technologies get into those hands and stay in those hands, maybe we're okay.
Right. Maybe. That's a scary fucking maybe, bro.
Right.
Oh shit.
Too scary for WB, right?
Right, exactly. Way too scary for WB. And I'm kind of pissed at that, because you see Marvel with this Endgame, I think they're already over $1.2 billion. And it's like, WB, you have a chance to do that. You got the Snyder Cut. You have what everybody wants to see. Like, what are you doing? Is this technology that secretive that you can't put it out? Like, really, what's going on?
Right. That's the question, right? Yeah. What is going on?
Oh man, that's why I always talk to you. I want to figure out what's going on. So we know we got some Luciferians in big business, in Hollywood,
sure.
in corporations. So then you got some guy like Zack Snyder, who's obviously on the Jedi side, who's kind of, he's placing his spots. He's not coming out and saying it all outright, but he's putting it in his movies where you can kind of see what we're facing with, five.
If you know what you're looking at, it's definitely there.
Exactly. So that kind of, that kind of would show why Zack Snyder's movies won't come out. It kind of shows automatically, because it's like the people aren't ready for that.
Well, it's like I say though, like the whole release the Snyder Cut movement is a microcosm of this greater thing.
Right.
And what we fight for with trying to see his vision and push for artistic integrity and artistic freedom. That's really just an expression of this greater thing that's going on.
Right. Correct. You think the release of Snyder Cut, did it tie into the conspiracy movement, or what? How would you bottle up, or how would you, what file cabinet would you put us in?
No matter what side of the base of the pyramid you start at, you as you go towards the top, you end up at the same place.
Right. You're exactly right. And those guys are running CERN. Which is a scary fucking thought, bro.
And those guys are trying to implement 5G, and who knows what that means.
Correct. No, those guys are implementing it. They're not waiting around.
Yeah.
That's some scary shit, and I've even started looking at 6G, like sixth generation technology, and it's some crazier shit. My homie Julius Maximus, blah 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 blah, he starts showing me some next generation particle colliders, and they make CERN look like Mickey Mouse. They're huge. I don't know what these scientists are preparing for, or I really don't know what they're trying to do.
That's the big question too, because at some point, you get to quantum computing and you get to point.
Right.
But, then we get back to the dark side of that technology.
Right.
And is this all, the Tesla stuff? Is that what we're talking about?
Right. Correct. I don't know, man. They're saying the energy and the power and the entities, whoever they're communicating with on the dark side, is powerful beyond measure. They can't even tell us what it is, but they know it's some type of intelligent entity. But they can't even track how powerful it is. It's really like a new God. Like we're creating a new God.
Yep.
Shit.
Absolutely.
I don't know if we can contain that, bro.
I don't know either.
Yeah. Well,
I hope they know what they're doing.
So, all right. So we, I think me and you, we flowed through this, and we kind of, we hit every point. But I want you to, what's the movement feeling like right now from your perspective? How are we doing, or what should we do, or blah blah blah? Where should we go?
Well, I think we got a little bit of momentum there.
Right.
I think all the videos, everyone, showing their force, on Twitter,
right,
and getting it to trend really high. That was great. I think right now we're in another one of those holding patterns.
Right.
Kind of waiting and seeing. I know. There's the new campaign with the raising funds for Comic-Con.
Right.
So, I think there's some stuff sort of brewing, but who knows where it's at? We hear it might come this week, if you believe Momoa's, video.
Right.
A couple days ago.
A few more days. Right.
So who knows?
Right. I'm excited. I'm looking for it. If Jason Momoa's video,
I think if anything, seeing even a watered down version of Zack's vision earning over $1 billion in its first week, I think maybe, hopefully, some people are paying attention to that.
Right. I agree, because that definitely is a watered down version of Zack Snyder's vision.
Right. I mean, from Civil War on.
Right.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit. That shit, because
that defies probability.
It does, man. I talked for the past.
Yeah, Smarmy said that, and it's absolutely true.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the build up to just Justice League Part 1 was so huge, man, and then to get that was a complete letdown, man. A complete letdown. And I want Warner Brothers to know, like, I know they might be up a big wall, Who knows why they don't want to release it? But Warner Brothers, if you're listening, if you release this, no matter all the history you've done in the past, this will top everything. You will go down in history for releasing the greatest comic book movie probably in history,
Absolutely. Everything will be forgiven. For real.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Did they get a new head of Warner Brothers Entertainment yet? Did they even announce that? I've been out of the loop.
No. I think Toby's still interim.
All right. So, I guess that's a good time for us to tell the fans bye, you know?
All right. Sounds good, man.
Yeah, so I'm
great talking to you, man.
You too, man. I'm gonna edit this up, and I got some videos. Before this conversation, we were at 55 minutes. This is a 20-minute conversation, so I got to do some more edits, and it'll probably come out tonight.
All right, cool. Looking forward to it, man.
I appreciate your time, Brian.
Thank you, man.
Hey, no
it's
problem.
Good talking to you.
You too, dog. Take care.
All right, take care.
Peace.